as you can probably see by the thumbnail and the background of the video, we will be returning to Christopher Paolini's Fractalverse with his prequel book, Fractal Noise. And I have been waiting for this book for a while because if you have seen my To Sleep and See the Stars video, you know I absolutely love that series, and if you want to rewatch that video, I will link it to the cards. I highly recommend rewatching that video because I absolutely love that book. So with all that out of the way, let's get into it. For Fractal Noise, we follow a character named Alex and the crew of the Adamora as they are exploring a planet named Talos 7, trying to figure out if it will be a suitable colony spot for humanity in the future. When they start exploring Talos 7, they realize that there is this massive hole that is sending out this massive EMP wave. Alex and 3 of the other crew members are sent out to explore the planet and figure out what the heck this hole is and who built it and why they built it in the first place. But unfortunately, things don't go great as they have to battle Talos and all of its natural dangers and the EMP itself, as well as tensions within the group as the mission continues till its very end. I think this book does very well is a more small-scale personal story. Because we are only following Alex and the exploration crew from the Adamora, we get a lot more time with Alex as a character, as opposed to Sleep, where we were following Kira and her journey, but also interacting with a lot of the world, and that book had to do a lot of the heavy lifting in introing the world, so there was a lot of info dumping. Whereas with this, there is quite a bit of info dumping, but not quite as much. It's a lot more of a character-focused story on how Alex works through his grief from the loss of his wife. I think Paolini does a really great job at this small-scale story just following Alex and his journey through grief. It's a great story for a book like this that is kind of small-scale and contained, and it doesn't have to deal with large world-building questions. It can just focus on the one character and their story and their environment, and I think Fractal Noise does a really great job at that small-scale story, and Paolini's writing is top-notch as always, particularly with the small-scale character moments. One of the things I absolutely loved about this book was its depiction of the journey of grief, because at the very outset of the book, we're told that Alex has lost his wife, Layla, in some, horrific incident, and he hasn't really been the same since. He's just been kind of going through the motions, living his life, doing whatever he can to continue his life. But until he gets to Talos 7, it's not until then that he's kind of forced to confront what happened with Layla and his feelings about it. The landscape of Talos 7 is one giant metaphor, I read at least, for the world of grief and how you feel when you're going through a process like that. And the giant hole is just a massive metaphor for the dark part of that process. It's such a good metaphor. It's not super in your face at first, but when you think about it and dive into it, it becomes super obvious. But I think Christopher Paolini did an awesome job at showing someone's journey through grief in a very cool representation as it's represented in the environment, a desolate planet, a giant sinkhole that's constantly falling. It's just such a cool metaphor that really enhances a lot of what the story is talking about. Another thing that Paolini does really well is having each of the characters represent something. And I'm just going to run through the 4 characters really quick. We obviously have Alex, and he just kind of represents, at least in my eyes, someone who's just trying to go through the pieces of life and doesn't care too much about asking the bigger questions, and obviously that is until Talos 7 when he's kind of forced to. And then we have Holly, who, at least in my eyes, I think represents someone who uses spirituality and religion as a coping mechanism, because we are told about this event on her homeworld that was super traumatic. She uses religion and spirituality to try and understand a crazy world like this, and there are a couple of conversations between her and another character about, can a a sentient species create beauty without some sort of higher power to inspire them? Thalia falls on the side of no, there needs to be some sort of higher power to inspire beauty and all that. And another character I will talk about in a minute falls on the opposite end of the spectrum. Overall, I think Thalia was a cool character. What she represented was interesting as it's very common worldview. So I think Paolini wrote another really cool, interesting character with Thalia. Jumping to Petrushkin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think I am. He is the character that opposes Thalia, and her view, his view is kind of almost hedonistic to a degree, where he's just like, hey, life is short. We got to do what we want as long as we can. There is beauty for beauty's sake. We can just create something because we think it looks interesting, it looks beautiful. And he's a very interesting character because he's egotistical and nihilistic, but throughout the entire book, Thalia and Petrushkin constantly clashing, constantly having arguments with each other about their ideologies. It's kind of a cool idea to represent these two ideologies with these two characters that are constantly clashing. The final character we follow is a guy called Chen, who honestly represents the majority, probably, of people. He's someone who hasn't really thought too much about the bigger questions. Are we alone? Is there a higher power? That sort of stuff. He just kind of wants to do his thing and not really think too much about those bigger questions. But throughout the entire book, he's sort of forced into thinking about these questions because of Petrushkin and Thalia's constant bickering. He's sort of thrown into the middle of it as they try to influence him into following their view of the world. And even toward the end of the book, Thalia and him kind of have this weird moment that I'm not going to spoil in case you guys want to read the book, but Shed is constantly a pawn in the game between Petrushkin and Thalia as the two are trying to influence him. Overall, I think these characters were really good, really well written as representations of legitimate worldviews that you can see pretty much anywhere. I think Christopher Paolini did a really good job at representing different sections of humanity and how they would react to finding out that there is sentient life out there. And I really did enjoy the cast for Fractal Noise. One thing I kind of wish Christopher Paolini did in this book is explain a lot of the science of the planet and the threats on it a little more. But I kind of understand it's more of like a personal journey for Alex, so the science doesn't necessarily matter too much. But I think it would have been cool to have the planet be explained a bit more and we get an understanding of what this thing is. I know, I understand it's more of a personal journey. It's just something I thought would have been interesting if the book had explored a bit more. I really loved this book. I loved all the characters. I love the setting as a really big metaphor. And I cannot wait to see what he does next for the Fractalverse. And if Fractal Noise is any indication, I am super hyped for whatever comes next. Make sure you guys stick around to the channel to know when I cover everything. I'm going to be giving Christopher Paolini's Fractal Noise a solid 9 out of 10. As always, if you guys read Fractal Noise and want to discuss it, leave your thoughts on the book down in the comments. Totally love to chat with you guys about it. Again, please don't spoil anything, but feel free to discuss. Down in the comments, if you guys have books you want me to do reviews on in the future, leave those down there. Always looking for something interesting to read. As always, my social media accounts, if you guys want to go follow them, TikTok, Instagram, and Discord are all our own book reviews. I will leave links to everything down in the comments. That is going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, follow the channel so you guys don't miss anything. I will see you guys next video. Till then, have a great week, and don't forget, keep on reading.